Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I'll be breaking down the second week of November, as you can see, which starts from 18th of November 2024. This is the backtesting data, as you guys know, as I'm backtesting right now the data, and right now the price is literally only going to the downside, as by looking at the price action you can say. And whenever there are conditions like this where the market is just going down, that is when you look for continuation models, meaning whenever the volume in the previous weekly or the weeks or the daily are high, according to the candles and which time frame they are forming. If a candle like this is forming on a weekly time frame, on the next week we will but obviously we will adapt to the condition of the market being bearish continuation models, which we see in this week. So I will also show it to you guys, no problem for that, right? So just stay with me in the markets. I will teach you a lot of things. And now, before starting the weekly breakdown, let me show you the news. On Monday there was no news. Tuesday, GBP news, monetary policy report hearings, which is not that of a high probability, meaning this is not my timing. Also, it is in my timing, so okay, we have to keep that in mind. Wednesday is CPI, Thursday unemployment claims, Friday retail sales, so on and so forth, right? So going on GBP USD, the price is literally dumping to the downside, meaning the DXY is getting so much stronger right now from this sort of area from September, and also the presidential elections and all sort of things. The price is just going down and down and down and down, showing that the price is literally bearish. So this is why learning continuation models is so important. You have to adapt to the conditions in the market. You have to adapt to an entry model, which is the MAC model, which I have learned from Rob Dono, and I will adapt that entry model according to my Asian range and according to my volume of the previous day's candles, right? If it makes sense to take a continuation model, I will take a continuation model using the MAC model. So on the weekly time frame, I draw the supply demand fair value gap, you guys know it. So next week my bias is bearish on GBP USD, which would be bullish on DXY. On DXY my bias was bullish on going on the next week. So that is what we watch on the weekly time frame. Now that is when I go to the daily time frame, and now whenever the daily and the weekly are aligning on Monday, I tend to trade Mondays. So in this case exactly, weekly bias is bearish and also the daily bias is bearish according to how these candles are closing: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And Friday also was bearish. So on Monday, going on Monday, I will be looking for sales. If I go to DXY to confirm my bias, and on DXY also it makes sense to go up, right? In this case, literally Friday closed as a bullish kind of bullish pin bar candle. So I will be looking for buys on DXY, which will be sells on GBP USD. So that is when I go to the H4. On the H4 there is no such sort of things. On the H4 time frame, on the H4 I mark the supply, break of structure, previous weekly highs and lows, and I go to the H1 to mark my supply zones. I waited for the Asian range to close. After the Asian range closed, here we can see there was a supply zone right here on the H1. And on Monday the volume was very low in my sessions. My session is London and New York. If I show you, this was my session, and in my session the volume was very low, meaning my bias was bearish. So I'm only looking for sales. London session did nothing, New York session went to the upside, so obviously we didn't take the trade because it was not in our favor. So Monday was a no trade day for me because of the volume, and also the move happened against us, which would have been a loss. If I force a trade on Monday, it would be a loss. So now going on Tuesday, it's best to not trade. Like, there are two types of people on Tuesday. Now the daily bias is not aligning with the weekly bias, so Dovi FX will not trade, right? But Rob Dono will look for a buy using his MAC model right here to buy to the upside. So even me, I will look for a buy because I only trade GBP USD and Euro USD. So keeping that in mind, I only trade two pairs. Keeping that in mind, we will obviously look for trades because we don't want to miss an opportunity, and we also don't want to force an opportunity. So clearly going on Tuesday, my bias is bearish on DXY and bullish on GBP USD, right? So now we go to the H4 to see some sort of change of characters to the upside, which we could find none. There was no change of character. And if I go to the H1, I am looking for some sort of demand zone to buy from, and waiting for the Asian range to close. And after the Asian range closed, the only zone that I could spot was this H1 fair value gap, which was also not respected. As you can see, the London session literally went to the downside. I was looking for buys, and also if I was looking for some sort of buys, I would look for some sort of demand zone here, which did play out. To be honest, New York session was to the upside, but we could not find any entry signal. My bias was bullish, right? So from some sort of demand zone here on the London, I could have entered this buy position right here, but we couldn't find any sort of entries right here. That is why I didn't do the trade on Tuesday also. If I show you the call out, for us to execute the MAC model, we need a beautiful change of character to the anticipated direction, which in this case was none. I will show you why I've written that. Okay, so my bias was bullish, so for me to take the MAC model, I want a change of character to the upside, right? After the Asian low got swept, I want the change of character to the upside on the M5 time frame, and then on the OTE level I enter. But in this case, that didn't happen, right? So that is why I didn't execute the trade, which saved us from a loss. If I took the trade, if I forced the trade here, I would have taken a loss. And because of these lower highs and lower lows, the price was in this bearish solidified range. That is why I didn't execute the buy on New York session, which ended up playing out. So the trade did ended up playing out, but it was not in our sessions, and yeah, it just didn't make sense. So yeah, so going on Wednesday again, my bias is bullish again because of how this Tuesday candle closed, and hope you guys are learning something as of now. And DXY closed literally a bearish candle right here on Tuesday, so Wednesday looking for sales made sense to target this fair value gap right there. Also there was a fair value gap here on Tuesday to fill, which got filled to the T here, and now it makes sense for me at least to go and fill up this daily fair value gap right there on there. So on GBP USD, I am looking for buys. So if I'm looking for buys, some sort of demand zone market structure shift on the 4-hourly, there was none again. So that is when I go to the H1 and wait for the Asian range to close, because we always wait for the Asian range to close. The Asian range closed, and on Wednesday also it was a no trade day for me, I believe. So Wednesday was a no trade day for me. Also on Wednesday there was CPI. So I decided not to take the trade. So not trading on Wednesday literally played out in my session, sorry, in my favor. And if I show you the call out for Wednesday, on Wednesday there was no clear zones to trade from, so didn't force the trade 100%. Whenever there is no clear zones to take trade from, here we can see there was no clear zones to buy from. That is the reason I didn't take a trade for a buy opportunity right there, and that's totally fine. And whenever there is no clear zones to trade from, don't trade. That will help you literally help you for the upcoming days, right? So going on Thursday now, clearly we can see Monday went up, Tuesday went up, Wednesday went up, swept liquidity from Tuesday and Monday, and now it is giving a bearish candle, aligning with the weekly bias being bearish. My weekly bias is bearish, so now the daily has also aligned with the weekly being bearish, so which gives us a good confidence to take a trade. Also DXY has now aligned with the weekly bias being bullish, so now I'll be looking for sales again. So some sort of change of characters or break of structures to the downside on the H4, which there were none, I believe. Again, yes, the price was ranging between this low and this high, making a bullish solidified range right there. And on the H1 time frame, clearly we can see there was a supply zone right around there. And after the Asian range is closed, obviously I always look for Asian range to close, and after the Asian range closed, it was a continuation model, I believe. Thursday was a clear MAC model with win, as we can see. It was with the bias and also a continuation model. Yes, you can argue there was a supply zone to trade from, but according to the bias, we have to adapt to the market conditions, right? I have told you that according to the bias, we have to adapt to the market conditions. So in this case, it was literally making so much of sense for me to wait for this supply zone to get mitigated, but also according to how the market is reacting. Look at this, so bearish, right? So that is why it also made sense to take a trade from here. Why? I will clearly show you, don't worry, I will explain it to you guys. Thursday was a MAC model win. Why? I will clearly show you. So my session started there, and literally just when my session started, 7 AM UK time, literally it has shown so much of momentum to the downside. This is exactly what we want to see in a trade, right? So the change of character happened exactly at our timing. The only problem was the Asian high didn't got swept. The Asian low got swept instead, right? The most ideal case scenario would be the Asian high sweep, supply zone mitigation, and then this exact move happen here. It would be a A-class setup. This is not an A-class setup here. This is a B-C setup, but it did play out, so I thought of just journaling it. As you can see, the price went down, came up to the equilibrium, and then literally shoot to the downside. It was a beautiful trade right here. It was a MAC model, as you can see, on Thursday. So also we have to learn about the MAC models because it's very, very important. So Thursday was a MAC model. Now going on to Friday, right? So now on Friday, let's see what the bias is. On Friday, now the bias is again bearish because of how this Thursday candle closed, and also it is aligning with the weekly bias being bearish, so it is also looking good. The contrary will be true on DXY, which is bullish on Wednesday and also bullish on Thursday. So on Friday we'll be looking for buys again. So on GBP USD, Wednesday, Thursday was bearish, so on Friday I'm looking for sells again. And yeah, mate, that was basically what I'm looking for. And also there was a H4 break of structure right around here, as you can see, and now this is the H4 supply zone. And on the H1, the previous week low also has been swept, as we can see right there. So now we wait for the Asian range to close as always, and after the Asian range is closed, I am looking for sells because my bias is bearish. So now the price to go up and react from here, it makes sense, but we know that the price is so bearish right now, we have to adapt to the market conditions, right? So after seeing so much of bearish pressure, if I didn't adapt to the market conditions, I have to be perspicacious. I am literally seeing that the market is giving continuation models to us, right? It is giving continuation models to us more than it is giving our perfect setup, our liquidity, supply and demand, AMD, accumulation, manipulation, distribution setup, right? So we have to adapt. So in this case, what I did was I adapted to the condition in the market. There was a beautiful supply zone on the M15 right here, which was made on 10:15 AM Indian Standard Time, which is not our session, but obviously it gave us our move, which is so this was the supply zone I was looking to trade from. That is why I didn't took the same trade I took on Thursday. On Thursday I took this trade because it was looking clear, right? But in this case there was also no such clear zones to trade from. On Friday you can see there were no zones to trade from, no clean or strong zones to trade from, because New York made the move and then this was the accumulation, as you can see right there, and we don't trade the accumulation, and that is why I was looking to trade from that M15 supply zone right there. And London session literally started, our session started, and my supply zone did got mitigated perfectly, and this would have been a M1 entry. As you can see, the M15 supply zone did got mitigated, and that is when I can guarantee you for a fact I would have gotten a beautiful entry on M1 somewhere around here with a stop loss above there, and we could have targeted a 1:3 easily. So Friday was also a winner, as you can see right here. So even Friday went to the downside, so this was a bearish weekly profiling candle. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday went up, so it was a midweek reversal. Thursday, Friday went down. So this was what happened throughout the week. It was a beautiful week. My bias was so clearly bearish, and if I was patient and if I was perspicacious enough and I anticipated, or I have noticed the fact that the price is literally going down and down and down, that is when I can look for continuation models. If I could apply that on this kind of market conditions, I would have made a bag, right? I would have passed so many perform challenges, and I also would have made so much better. My performance will be so much better if I was perspicacious enough, and my skills to adapt would be nice, right? So this was the weekly breakdown video for you guys. Hope you guys learned something from this video. So now going on to the next week, literally my bias is bearish again because of how this candle is closed. And now let's do the next weekly breakdown video now, and after that we will decide if you want to sleep or not. Okay, so bosh, see you on the next video.